Go. Welcome to Claris Talk AI. We've got two special guests today. In addition to Cris Ippolite, we've got Ernest Koe and Joris Arts. How do you pronounce that? It's got two A's. Welcome, gentlemen. So tell us a little bit about yourselves and what companies you're with, and then we'll get into AI. Ernest.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Ernest Koe. I'm the CEO of Proofgeist. And most people know us for our work with the developer community and products and platforms like Auto and Automatic, but we are a platinum level Claris partner, so we do a lot of work on the consulting and custom dev side of things as well. So glad to be here, and I'll turn it over to Joris.
I'm also going to say thank you for Auto, because damn.
Yeah.
Cool. And it's free now too, so sweet.
Auto FMS is free.
It's been a big topic over here at iSolutions this week too, so I'll second that.
Joris.
I agree. Hi, I'm Joris Arts. I co-founded ClickWorks in 2005 together with my brother Jeroen. We are now a team of 15, 16 developers from multiple countries as well. We are platinum partner based in Belgium, Europe, and co-organizers of the European DevCons after the pandemic, Engage You. So we will have our third edition this fall in Sweden again.
Looking forward.
What are the dates of that, by the way?
I should have prepared better, but yeah, I look it up. 16, 17 November somewhere.
And what's the website for that? So we can go check it out.
Engageu.eu.
Excellent.
Site. So you're all invited to come over. We have already huge interest from sponsors and possible speakers. So it's going to be a great edition again.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've been to
Ernest,
it twice.
Yeah, do you have something to announce too? Maybe not dates, but as far as events are concerned, Ernest, I know
Pause is coming up. Yeah, Pause is in October. Pausewithus.com. I think if you guys have show notes, we'll just dump a bunch of links in.
Yes, there'll be a lot of links in the show notes for this show, actually. Yeah. So we've got 4 points of the compass here, which is very interesting, right? So Joris is in Northern Europe. I'm in Southern Europe. Cris is in Western US, and Ernest is in Eastern US. Northwest, East, South, right?
We nailed it.
But only 3 countries. Lame. So
well, Florida's a separate country. Really.
Yeah, Florida's separate.
So is California.
But California kind of is too.
Yeah,
but that's pretty cool. International podcasts. Talk about getting all the voices in there. This is exciting.
And Crete, where I am, is technically closer to Africa than to mainland Greece. So, but we're definitely not part of Africa.
I was in Crete 2 weeks ago, and
what?
Yeah,
and I totally forgot calling you. We were in Rethymno for 1 week, beginning of April.
I was in Rethymno. That's my closest village, city, whatever. It's one of the 3.
Awkward.
Yeah, I love. It's fine. That happens all the time. Rethymno is lovely. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites.
It happens all the time.
Just me.
It happens all the time that FileMaker people come to Crete and they don't mention anything that they're in here.
If you do, look me up. I'll show you the good places.
Can't wait.
I'm really curious how you guys got into AI and when. Like, what's your story, Joris?
Okay.
Both presented on it too.
I started in 2017. I had one use case, one client, had a casting agency, and he spent a lot of time tagging photos for future searches. So he got requests for advertising campaigns, and sometimes he needed like bearded guys with tattoos or red-haired girls with lots of freckles, that kind of thing. And then he his FileMaker database and did all kind of searches. So he had a lot of keywords, tags to label those images, spend a lot of time on that. And that was when the first image recognition models, the pre-trained models, came up. And one model that was very convenient, very easy to use was clarify.com. So like Claris AI or clarify.com, and had a very, very easy to use image recognition model and a very convenient API. And so I built a demo file, which was shown at DevCon at the time, 2017, I believe. And yeah, that was my first experience with AI, and I experienced a little bit with like custom training or feeding it my own images and trying to learn it. And that's how I learned how difficult it is and how much data you need to reliably train a model, because it can quickly get on the wrong path and start recognizing false flags and basing its model on wrong information or too little information. And then, yeah, a couple of years later, 2 years ago, use case we are having now is a headhunting agency. They want to do three things: parse resumes, so documents, incoming resume documents, and parse information of that. Then do semantic search on function titles, like not exact function titles, but similar function titles. And third, they want to do pattern matching. So they have a complete resume and they want to find similar candidates based on the same patterns in the resume, experience, language, knowledge, which is very important in Europe. Knowing multiple languages, that kind of things. And 2 years ago, it seems like a pretty far away thing for me. And then we also hired a couple of specialists, and they were doing like very mysterious things with vectorizing things and embeddings. And this is now all coming very close to Claris, to FileMaker, and becoming very, very easy. But this is things we need to learn today, and the new thing also for FileMaker developers, I believe.
And by the way, that session from DevCon 2017, I think you said, that one's still on YouTube. People should check that out. It's still very relevant today. One of the first utterances of maybe the first discussion of AI at all within a Claris and FileMaker context. So people should definitely check that out on YouTube.
Yeah, that was
22
years ago. Crazy.
2007.
7 years ago.
Oh, wait, did I say what year was it?
You said 2017. Yeah.
Okay.
2017, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's still 7 years ago by my math.
I know, that's a lot. That is 22 years in AI years. It's like dog years, actually.
Yeah.
So Ernest,
I didn't have a session at that time, but Ronnie Rios showed it in the partner meeting as examples of like, innovative use of FileMaker.
That's what it was. Yep. And of course, everybody here, including Ernest, we're going to hear from, we all did presentations at the most recent Engage 2024. And I believe those are now available to anyone who has access on Claris community. So if you want to check out the 3 of ours sessions, in addition to the 2 Claris ones, they're there as well.
Yeah, not we all, because I didn't. I just attended. Anyway, I'll be the odd man out. Ernest, what's your story?
Yeah, yours. I love hearing like this magical quality that you attribute to AI with, vectorizing and all these things. Because I think when I first started, it was very much that. It was like this is magical. But really, the story is really quite boring. I mean, I started because we had a couple of problems we needed to solve, and one was in the enrollment management admissions world, which is to predict enrollment, predict the ability of us to qualify a candidate and see whether they're a good fit for the school and stuff like that. And the old ways were non-predictive, and there were quite a lot of predictive, like basic statistical predictive, the linear regression and stuff, that were being used. But we came on the scene to really try to work ML models into those systems. So that was just, early days, a lot of grunt work, a lot of failures, candidly. Things, the models just not getting better results than traditional like guessing or traditional ML stuff, and then it got better, and it was a learning experience. But I think that transitioned to another project that I worked on and helped design, which was similar to Joris's, which is it's a company that had a major problem. They were cleaning basically kitchen hoods, if you will. So a lot of grease, and they had to, some very labor intensive work. And one of the things they do for quality assurance and quality checks, they take pictures. And they take pictures of the hoods, and somebody has to say this is good enough and not good enough, right? But that was like it took half an hour to clean the hood. Taking pictures was like and figuring out, assessing the quality was not a half an hour. You know, you multiply that by thousands of restaurants and tens of thousands of locations. All of a sudden, you've got a problem. You've got a cost center. And so we looked at that and say, could we use some machine learning here and train an image QA agent, basically, you know, to pump a bunch of pictures in and figure out, yay, nay, you know, this is good, good to go, go back. And that was very cool. And that succeeded like crazy. And so that's still being used today. And that was very, very early days. This was all, you know, no APIs. You're talking about basically, you know, roll out your Python, you know, roll up your sleeves and start, you know, training models and stuff like that. Yeah, and since then, you know, it's trying to make it more applicable in the FileMaker world and continue to tinker and play with the things. I think similar to a lot of what you guys are doing. Yeah.
What other ways you guys keep up to date on AI and kind of understand it more?
I mainly use X or Twitter.
Same here.
And then LinkedIn, of course. I'm following Cris Ippolite, and you're
Who's this again?
Yeah, you're doing an amazing
Oh,
job in like publishing out the latest news, because there are these weekly summaries of what's going on in AI, and every week it's like a whole list of articles to read. So I try to read is to spend at least once a week some time catching up on what's going on, because it's moving so fast.
Yeah, I don't have a daily diet because it's going to just do bad things to my blood pressure.
It is a little terrifying, no doubt. I'd throw out there that there's this real like propagation of like the newsletters aren't original, but right after ChatGPT took off, there were like these like tons of AI newsletters took off, and they grew so fast. Like the first one I think I ever subscribed to is this one called Ben's Bites, which was just some blog, and it's, you know, a daily email. And I remember watching him go from like 1,000 subscribers to like 10,000 in like a month. And I believe he's in the hundreds of thousands or something already. Very similar ones like that will just go right into your inbox. I have a little email address set up for it with a little, you know, something that kind of puts it aside and doesn't clog up my, you know, normal email usage. And one thing I would recommend to the present group here and anybody listening or watching is we have a standing meeting. It's just 30 minutes a week. We just call it What's New in AI. It started off as sort of like a curiosity and, hey, wouldn't it be fun to talk about what's new in AI? And it quickly became like, oh my God, if we miss one of these meetings, like we have a responsibility to our customers to make sure we know everything's coming. Like whether it's like the Llama 3 drop this week or whatever, like we need to discuss that as a team. And so we literally have a Jira board that says, and I put this together as I'm reading these newsletters or doing my own research or posting stuff on LinkedIn or whatever. And then I'll assign it to different members of the team. We have a board or a column that says, this is for current projects or internal projects or something that we'll look at in the future. It has become like an absolute necessity because, like, you know, to Ernest's point, like I get a little like the nerves to have the stomach for this, to be like, oh my God, I can't even take a week off, you know, to just go have a vacation or something without like potentially the earth moving under our feet. So anyways, that's been something that I think has been useful if people want to adopt the same thing.
Cris, you talked about a book in a recent podcast. What was that one?
AI for Good.
AI for Good. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And not to rehash it, but it was just, you know, a lot of discussion about AI's potential for bad. And I just think that there needs to be more discussion about the potential and the good and the utility functions that it has rather than the bad. So that book has got a good examples there.
I read a book recently that I want to plug, A Brief History of Intelligence. That probably doesn't show correctly. By Max Bennett. It covers like 5 things in not just human history, but in like all human history. It basically connects evolution and AI and talks about the thing from, and it starts with like motility, like the very, very first flatworms developed the ability to go straight or turn. And that was the first like thing that was smart, because before that, everybody waited for food to come to them. That was what organisms could do. And then once it could start actually doing things, moving, basically, that was like the first thing. And then it kind of goes all the way from there, all the way up to, it goes all the way up to ChatGPT 4, even though the book was published, I think, in 2022, 2023. A lot of neuroscience, but I highly recommend it.
Now,
Oh,
you
that's
were
cool.
saying that you heard of that because we've talked about Kahneman
We
before,
have,
who just passed away.
yep,
That was I think our first book recommendation was Thinking Fast and Slow.
Yep.
Now, you said that the last thing he uttered before he passed was a recommendation to
Well,
read that book,
I don't know
right?
if it was quite that late, but yeah, basically he was friends with Angela Duckworth. I listened to her podcast, excuse me, and she mentioned on the last episode that Daniel Kahneman had told her, read this book, and he never says, read a book.
Mhm.
So she took it seriously, and so did I. So
It was very
yeah.
cool.
The Dartmouth conference is referenced in this book. Is that correct?
No, I don't think so.
That is going to be a topic, I think, for future podcast episodes, is that fascinating event in 1956. I just think, just when you're looking
maybe
at
it
the
was
history, yeah, it was where they were going to solve AI over a summer in 1956. And honestly, pretty much, actually, that's where the term artificial intelligence came from, was literally in the outreach to people to attend that summer event.
He actually did talk about the person who coined the phrase. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was one of the founders of that, and that later then spawned MIT's and Stanford's School of AI and their discussions, and I think that was super important because it was also like the transition between symbolic learning and what then later became, well, it was probably 20 years later, where, you know, the neural network adoption really became the the main topic of artificial intelligence. And it was interesting. So was that a mealworm, you said, or what kind of worm was that?
Like a flatworm and like a
So cool.
nematode.
So it was literally
One
like
of
the
very first
Boolean,
things.
it was like the first ones and zero in like biological intelligence, like go straight or turn left, right? Like
Yeah, life
true or
before that
false
was like
based.
a jellyfish, right? So basically it was bilateral symmetry. That was kind of the start of things, because that was when you could propel yourself into turn, so forward or turn. But before that was evolved, organisms couldn't do that. It's really fascinating. And then
Where
all
does
the way up
he,
to like all the different attempts to do AI and the different things that they try to do to make it work, and how they all moved it along, but didn't really get all the way there. Anyway, yeah, it was really fascinating.
I think the, I'll throw this out to the group, but I think that's a really important point that people should understand, is that AI was not invented in November 2022 when ChatGPT came out, and that it's had a lot of failures. Like, you know, no one is saying that this is the final offering either. You know, there's a lot of cloudiness about this, like AGI, which we won't go on a rabbit hole, but personally,
That's
there is
important
no
though. AGI is artificial general intelligence, right? Is that
there is no universally accepted standard for what that is and what that means, but somehow everybody's got an opinion on when it's going to get here. But no one knows what how it's actually defined.
You know what?
But
He actually, I'll throw another thing. I don't know why, but anyway, the book talks about Rosie the robot in
from the
Jetsons.
Jetsons.
Yeah. So that was the first, like, if you take a look at that show and all the things that have come true from it, it's insane how many things actually that predicted.
Just sans flying cars, but like video phones, the
flat screens,
Roombas,
which is
flat
actually another
screens.
talks in the book about AI. But AGI is basically Rosie, right? So she can understand commands, she can help the children with homework, she can like really understand things, and then act on them. This is something we definitely do not have yet. But
well,
I think
Rosie also has an awareness of the world around her. She has a worldview, which is more akin to what we're seeing in autonomous vehicles and robotics, which interestingly enough, like Tesla's AI that drives the cars is the exact same one that drives their robotics. Like it's literally the same model. So that worldview is missing in a complete fashion. And also there's only text representation rather than visual representation of our knowledge right now. And without visual, we can't link to the worldview. So those are all coming. It's just, I guess the point is, it's not about language model intelligence. I don't know. What do you guys think about, you know, do we care about how intelligent these things are?
What I'm thinking about now is like adding other senses to AI. So we now we have AI that's text-based, image-based, video-based. But I recently learned about Osmo.ai. So they are trying to capture smells and train AIs on smells. So it will be another sense being added to AI. And curious
3D and smellorama coming to
bomb
an
sniffing
AI.
robots and whatever.
Well, no, that's exactly it. In the same manner, I
perfume.
think, like Joris, I would assume they're trying to achieve the same kind of things that we use like dogs for, like being able to, you know, low blood sugar senses and maybe dangerous elements and bomb sniffing. I bet you that's all what they're trying to achieve. I'm assuming that.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought of, but then I thought, what about all these other things for smells? You know, wine, and other spirits, food, perfumes, a lot of other really important things that having it be objective would be and repeatable. Ernest, I'm curious also, do you guys think, are you basically positive or fearful about what's going to happen from AI?
I'm reading a book now called Blood in the Machine. And so I think I'm going to pull together a couple of threads here. I'm finding myself reading not so much AI specific stuff, but more either fiction or nonfiction that is getting at a history of both intelligence and machines, and also like projecting forward beyond this current moment, what the possibilities are, right? So I'm a huge fan of science fiction, but I think that there are a number of books where if you read or reread them, you see sort of what imagination AI or AGI could look like, inflected with this current moment, that I think is really interesting. And the ones that really most interesting for me is when they don't, like, AI is not like the theme; it is just like the thing in the background. It goes without an assumption. You know, Martha Wells's series. It's really very cool. It's a fun read. It's the Murderbot series. I think it's the fun version of that category.
I've read them all. I love them.
Pantheon of others like that.
Yeah.
But the one that I'm reading now is called Blood in the Machine. And it's really a sort of historical narrative of how human and machines have kind of evolved. And it takes you through this period in England where textile industry was being machinerized basically, you know, and it's kind of dry, but it's fascinating history, because all the challenges they have now are exactly the challenges we do, which is, you know, are these tools that improve our standard of living, or are they going to take away jobs, and who are the stakeholders, and who's afraid of those things? So highly recommend it. It's by Bryant Merchant. And again, not something you want to read if you want a thrill ride, go read Murderbot for that. But if you want a history lesson and sort of economics of machines and so forth, it's a good place to start. So that's what I'm doing.
I think what you just said is so important, because this, again, to speak to this isn't new. Like this ebb and flow has been happening in history. I mean, look at the Industrial Revolution as the first thing. Like 60% of the jobs that existed in 2022 did not exist prior to the Industrial Revolution. So of course, if they're, you know, the headlines would have said they're coming for all of our jobs and everyone's going to die. But the reality of it is, nobody would have conceived of, and I'm not going to sit and say that these are good jobs, but like, imagine trying to explain the job of a Instagram influencer to somebody pre-industrial revolution, right? It just doesn't even cognitively make sense. There is the Pessimist Archive. It's a little bit cheeky. Excuse me, pessimistarchive.org is a website, and it's a follow that or something that I follow. And it's just like interesting looks back into the history of like when cameras came out, and then when books came out, like literally the overwhelming public response to all these things, bicycles,
negative,
air flight, massively negative, like massively negative. And all of it was focused on danger. It was going to kill us all. Like, this whole like conversation about AI, the doomer mentality of AI, is not original at all.
Like,
and it's going to age.
Before books, there was a 3% literacy rate. And then now there's a 97% literacy rate. Small change. You know?
Well, and meanwhile, they were actually saying, they were like, reading in bed is going to cause health problems, like that when books first came out, like it was going to cause divorces and stuff like that. Like
it definitely does.
Yeah. Probably does. Joris, I'm curious about your take. So what, good, bad, scared?
I think I am I think if you were to put a high, sort of a matrix around this, like a quad matrix around this, I'm probably on the top right side of optimistic, but not all the way optimistic and hopeful, but not all the way to the top right corner.
Right.
And I think I have some real concerns, and I don't think I think that yes, absolutely, all the things that history has told us and that we've been through around technology change. As an aside, and I was just checking this up, VisiCalc, the spreadsheet program that came on the Mac, dropped in 1978.
Wow.
And before that, we had accounting clerks whose own job was just to tabulate columns for and that whole industry evaporated, but accountants got more jobs as a result, right? I mean, so we've been through this cycles of boom and buzz and changes in the economics of work and industry for eons.
Right.
But I tell you what concerns me, and there are category of risks that are hard to predict, and they have propagative effects. And I don't think those are the same things, right? So it's like not all things have the same kind of risk profile. And yeah, it's hard to know which ones have most. Maybe reading was the same thing as making the atom bomb or the hydrogen bomb, but clearly we know today they're not. Like hydrogen bombs are way scary. Nuclear bombs are nuclear technology is way scarier, and it could lead to a black swan event that could basically wipe us all out. I mean, I don't think anybody sane today would look at that situation and go, yeah, no big deal. It's just life. Technology moves on. Right. And I think that the same with AGI / not AI so much, but maybe an AGI event. If that were ever to happen, could it have propagative effects that can give you a runaway chain that you can't control? That's, I mean, it could be 1% or 0.1%, but it's not zero. And that's the thing. I mean, a lot of risks have tail end, like diminishing, like they just die out because you can't propagate beyond the first and second generation effects. A lot of viruses actually do this, they kill a lot of people, but then if evolution just takes hold and then the humanity survives, right? But if the curve is going up and not down in terms of propagation, then you've got a problem, right?
Hey, Cris, I want to see your shirt.
Yeah, just a little Easter egg. It's for irony purposes.
Skynet.
Yeah, and I mean, and that was a perfect personification of what the concerns are and how it will kill us all. And I think it's important to also understand that these tools will also be on our side. As a matter of fact, you've already seen data security conferences go from a few years ago. The main topics were how everyone's going to use AI to hack us to now it's how we're using AI to fight off these threats. So there are two sides of the ongoing battle. The risk is extremely real, and we need to remain focused on this out into the future, so that when Skynet eventually takes over, that we're prepared for it. But it also is centered around the AGI event, and there's no point in history and technology where an event actually just popped up and evolved as the AGI event is presumed to happen in the future. There are very educated and well thought through schools of thoughts that also say the gradual introduction of AI technologies and adoption of AI technologies will allow us to be able to see and perceive when AGI becomes real and be able to harness this and use it for good as well too. So I think both of those are extremely important topics, and both of them bounce around in my head in equal capacities. My challenge from an AI professional standpoint is simply the only thing that captures the headlines is the negative, and it's all coming to kill us. And I just think that that's noise
it's
now.
It's definitely not that. I mean, I think the conflation is part of the problem. And I think part of understanding risk is just to really understand what's non-risk, or really not the core risk that we need to worry about so much. Because I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a lot of productivity level, quote unquote value add, not to throw all these stupid buzzwords around, that's on the productivity side of things right now that are very, very exciting. I mean, this would be like spreadsheets hitting the market, you know, and at scale, right? I mean, that kind of transformation at some orders of magnitude bigger. Joris, I'm curious what you're thinking, because
Yeah.
we're
You've been quiet too long.
I'm also optimistic about AI, but also a bit scared. Optimistic AI is already helping us cure diseases or diagnosing cancers, or already in some cases better than doctors can. So this is very positive, of course. It's helping us as a tool to be more productive, and we need to be more productive because there's an increasing need in applications like what we do with the Claris platform. And low code was okay to build applications faster, and now AI will allow us to build low code applications even faster. But I'm scared of the mass of information coming at us, and AI generated information and sometimes manipulated information, or fake or deep fakes, and a lot of human energy is now being drawn towards AI generated stuff without those people knowing, like clickbait, fake websites, fake videos. There are children books being published, people making money on totally AI generated content, which can be okay, but AI, in my opinion, will never be able to come up with original ideas. It still needs a human being like Picasso or Neil Young or Bob Dylan to invent something innovative. And AI is just amplifying that, repeating that.
I definitely don't agree with you there. I think it can definitely
my personal opinion.
Create art.
But what scares me is the amount of information that's being thrown at us by AI. Also, phishing emails are getting smarter and smarter, getting through spam filters and phishing attempts that are with AI generated robotic voices that mimic someone you know well to get your password. This kind of stuff, that's what scares me. But it's a learning curve. We need to learn to deal with that. Like we had to learn to install an antivirus a couple of years ago, or create longer passwords, I believe.
I just want to second that. I have grave concerns over like deep fakes and basically public trust on what they're seeing, right? Not the least of which was recently propagated by Microsoft's release of their announcement of VESA-1, lifelike audio-driven talking faces generated in real time, which can take one image and 40 seconds of audio and replicate all of us. As a matter of fact, we could do this podcast with AI representations of us when this technology was released. I have a lot of concerns about that. I have no talking points to dismiss the concerns and dangers there. I guess the only way I find peace is I also, not a young man, but I remember when Photoshop first came out, there used to be a term that says photo evidence, right? Like the concept of if there's a photo of it, then it really happened. And then Photoshop came out and that went out the window. And we had kind of adapted. Sadly, we adapted by just no longer trusting anything that we see as an image. And unfortunately, that's probably what how we're going to adapt as humans to video and voice and so on. So while there certainly have upsides for, custom personalized generated content, definitely the concerns that Joris just shared are extremely real, and I don't have any visions as to how those don't need to be addressed. One thing I can say that might transition us into a really interesting reveal that we want to share with our guests today is, I will just say, and this will be a topic of a future podcast, but the three of us, Joris and Ernest and I, did a webinar just a few weeks back for Claris. If people haven't seen it and for some reason saw this first, go check it out. I'm really proud of the work that we all did together. And I got feedback on one comment that I made, and it was that I said, if you're using AI, or if you believe that the value of AI is that it's a question answer machine, like you're just supposed to rely on its knowledge set, that you're doing it wrong. And I still feel very strongly about that. And I'm making that comment in the context of business use cases, which is what we're all, what we all do and why we're talking about AI even today. And we'll talk about that at a later podcast, but let's actually talk a little bit about base knowledge or latent knowledge inside the model in the context of FileMaker. Matt, I'll let you tee up our little
All right.
reveal
So
here. Pretty
not
fascinating.
thinking it was going to lead to this, as part of the class that I teach, I have a certification test. So it's a FileMaker database that I been put a bunch of questions into, and I was curious on your take, so I asked you to take it.
Mhm.
If anybody out there wants to take it, I would love to. I'll set you up with an account and you could take it. So
So
you
you
didn't
authored
take
this
it.
test.
Yeah. So
Well, I didn't take it. I just revealed to you this morning that
yes, you did.
GPT-4 took it. So I did full zero shot. It was a 94 question proficiency test. Now, in fairness, we should note that while I realized this about halfway through, some of them are subjective questions.
Mhm.
They weren't so much like, what's this function called or something like that we would see in the FileMaker the certification exam, the former exam, I should say.
Yeah.
But some were true and false, some were multiple selection. And anyways, I didn't see the score. Do you want to
Yeah. I'm
talk a
going to
little bit
show it
about?
actually.
All right,
I'll
yeah,
show.
for the
So this
YouTube
is.
folks.
Yeah, this will make a little less sense for people listening, but we can kind of read some of the stuff as well. So, so this is kind of the grade sheet. This is never intended to have public view, but basically, so here's the 94 questions and your answers, and then what I consider to be the correct answer. Which of these functions will extract the date from 9/24/2025 if it's a Northern American date structure? And then, extract day of the date underscore day. So basically some of these functions don't exist and some do. And it got 4 out of 5 right. So it knew which ones were not true and it knew which ones were true except for one. It didn't get the middle function right. So already kind of impressive. It got most of the true false ones correct, which I was pretty surprised.
That's
When
interesting.
using script debugger, is it possible to edit a script when it's running and the changes will appear immediately in the debugger? So basically, you'd have to really kind of know, like, can you edit a script while it's running? And of course, the answer is you can't. You have to, if you save it, it will halt the script. And it knew that. I was impressed.
And what what score did it get?
It got 78%. And I designed this test to be really hard. So like one of the really, really good students got 86%, something like that. Honestly, Cris, if you took it, I don't think you'd get 100. I think you'd probably get in mid 90s.
Hey,
Because I made some of the questions really hard.
well, and also in fairness, they were based on some of the literal references to content that you cover in class, for example,
Yeah.
right? Like you mentioned specific references in some of the questions. I noticed as I was shoveling these into GPT-4.
Right.
I actually used ChatGPT for this.
Let's see your screen.
Yeah,
It was an interesting one that it got wrong, by the way, like a simple order of operations question. So that probably, I don't know why it got this wrong, but it did.
What about the one on substitute though? Because that's the one I've got queued up before I share my screen here.
I'll just have you show that one. Go ahead.
Okay, so here we go. So what I did was I created a ChatGPT conversation for this, and I fed all 94 questions into it, but I did them as snapshot images, which was kind of fun, easier for me, honestly, but it's taking image input. So for those that are watching on YouTube, you see the question on the left-hand side and then the answers that are presented on the right. And the one that I have highlighted here was a specific one that says, what will the function below return? And it's a substitute function. It's similar to the type that we've seen in certification exams where it says substitute ABC, and then in brackets, A semicolon B. And that one question I happened to notice because I was sort of mindlessly doing this, but that was the one question that actually invoked Code Interpreter and performed this as a Python function and came up with the result of DDD. The rest of them, though, just to let you know, it wasn't just like I was zero shotting. I was literally just saying, here's the question, give me the answer. But my initial prompt indicated that I lost the prompt in the context window towards the end. So I had to reestablish it. But it's showing its work. So for those that want to check this out on YouTube, you can see that it's expounding, it's going through the logic, it's exploring all of the different options, and it's kind of talking to Excel as to why some of these would make sense as the answer and why some wouldn't. And it's going through practical applications of, like, here it's talking about the halt script and how you would use it, and then essentially reasoning to what the answer would be.
I have a similar example.
Yeah, I try to end this test to be like not a worst. Well, I think the FileMaker certification test used to be like a worst practice test. If you do this really dumb thing, what will happen? And I wanted to try to structure this test of more like a best case. These are the best uses of a feature, and so some of it is going to be subjective. Anyway, yeah, Ernest, Joris, I'd love your take on this.
Yeah, that's a promise of OpenAI. They are promising that their tools, ChatGPT, will be the patient tutor, helping students to study stuff. And so I can share my screen. I have an example where I do it,
please.
where I ask ChatGPT to generate a FileMaker exam with multiple choice questions, and it does a great job, or it seems to be doing a great job. But then,
please, yeah, you can share your screen.
I spent all that time writing it. I could have just asked ChatGPT.
Yes, of course. So this is one of the examples I shared in Austin. And
for those that want to see the full demo, this was part of your Engage presentation at the most recent Engage. That recording is available on the FileMaker community or Claris community.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, so it's available. So I want to prepare for the Claris certification exam and ask me multiple choice questions, 5 different similar options, more options can be correct. And it starts off with a very, very convincing.
By the way,
I think we're seeing the other window.
It's showing your slides.
Yeah, use the Zoom. Zoom has a great feature called share portion of screen on the advanced tab.
Okay,
it's the best thing. So you basically draw a box around the part of your monitor and it shares everything within it, including pop-up windows and multiple windows and whatever.
Okay, thank you.
There it is.
Yeah.
This better?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah, see it.
So I want to prepare for the Claris FileMaker certification exam, which is announced on the OpenAI website. Like, that's what ChatGPT is made for. Multiple choice questions, different options, at least one incorrect option, the other can be correct. And so first question was very convincing. Which of the following is true about a FileMaker server? And so I was really happy. This really worked. And then it started hallucinating on a very specific feature in the admin console.
You got question 1 wrong, by the way.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate.
Yeah.
and by the way, that's important. And I want to make clear what I think is so fantastic about what we're looking at here is that this is its baseline latent knowledge, right? So what this means is that it was taught FileMaker. Another thing that's, I think, really, really important for people that are first investigating language models is that they are not databases, right? They are not put information in and retrieve information out, especially in that same form. Where we gave it information, and the FileMaker community, and I think this is really exciting about the promise of what can happen moving forward, is one of the rare technology communities in the world, in the history of technology, frankly, that now has 30 years worth of discussion about its platform online. And that's really important because the web crawl data set that was harvested to create all the language models that we know of today, it's the same web crawl data source, and there's really only so much of it, so it'll remain the same probably for new versions of new models, has 30 years of people like us talking about FileMaker online. Now, here's the problem. It also has, if you go to like FileMaker community or one of the many different community websites that are available to us, it also has somebody going, hey, this script of mine is broken. What's wrong with it? Let me show you this script and then talk about what the problems I'm having. And like, it has just as many bad examples of FileMaker calculations and scripts and questions and answers as it does real ones. And almost all of the answers were provided by humans just like us, like probably people that are still in the community today. So it established its baseline knowledge, which apparently is enough knowledge to pass an exam at 78%. But my point of this experiment is we can make it much better. And here's what it would take to do that. I would just share, I want to share with you guys, this is not something I've brought up on the pod or in conversations with you guys before to some degree, but my first experiment was actually this one. I created the, just for my, literally my first curiosities with this were as a trainer. Like literally right around when the first public beta, the first sandboxes were coming out with GPT-3, shortly after that, what is now Copilot came out. And so my first curiosity was, there is a lack of knowledge of JavaScript within the Claris community. I thought it would be really interesting in 2020 to maybe come up with a tool that could help FileMaker people just say what they wanted in JavaScript, and it would just create that for them. Like we had the brilliant add-ons that Ernest and his team, the guys over at Geist, from Geist Interactive, who are now working with Ernest, had created in the platform. But just from a community learning standpoint, we were kind of stalled. So I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if people could use this to learn JavaScript? Well, shortly after that, literally Copilot came out. And so I ditched that. And I go, what about if people could use this to learn FileMaker? And so in my early experiments, I was doing everything from creating custom functions to actually writing scripts. What I ended up finding out was its true superpower at the time was refactoring, which means, so there's something really interesting in there. Refactoring is when you provide it with something and you're asking it to evaluate it. You're not asking it to go into its corpus of data and find its own truth and answer a question like we did with the proficiency exam. Instead, we're saying, how does this look to you? And I found that refactoring of scripts, now we can do images of scripts, which is a lot easier. And even creating learning paths or walking through how to create relationships through stories was actually pretty amazing at the time. Now, the main takeaway though, after that original attempt was it's not good enough from a base latent knowledge standpoint to be a resource from a training standpoint. So here's what I wanted to bring up to the group is that we as a community can solve for that. And what I mean is, and everybody here knows this, the baseline knowledge can be, we talked earlier, we heard both of you guys talk about fine tuning and training of a model and how difficult it is and maybe a little deflating. Like, the fine tuning process, even with language models today, is like hard. And I don't think we have enough data to actually influence it. But what we can do is create a knowledge base, likely by taking the one thing that's not included in there right now implicitly is a modern up-to-date version of like FileMaker help systems, right? So first of all, that could be vectorized and posted to a vector database that could then a tool that could embellish the knowledge set with truth of the base latent knowledge. And so, and with retrieval techniques, you can actually have more influence over the output than the model would by simply providing it instruction and guardrails to actually focus on that knowledge base. Although that's way too much work for one person. I believe that the other advantage that the FileMaker community has from an AI learning standpoint is that there's 50,000 of us that are professionals worldwide. The 4 points are represented here in this podcast, and we could all influence that data set. So what I'd love to try to breathe some life back into, I did a poor job of this. Nobody was really listening to me at the time. And I think you guys have louder voices that maybe we could get people on board. But I created this webpage called, it's just a URL, FileMakerLearningCompanion.com, which simply goes to a Claris Studio forum just to gauge interest of people who might want to get in on this. And what does this mean? Who wants to contribute, who might want to, who's got a vector store we could use, who wants to do some UI, who wants to be part of this initiative, and more importantly, how can we get thousands of people worldwide to actually go into this chat and do a thumbs down and say, that was the wrong answer, here's the right answer. It's not a database, so we don't have to find every wrong answer. We're just gonna,
like, that used to be the best practice, but it's not anymore.
The symbolic learning part, and it's not. And so what we need is just enough influence of the right answers into this vector store that we can actually create a training tool. And I don't know, I want to open that up to Ernest and Joris to see what you guys think, because ultimately what I believe we need an AI training tool. Claris has a massive void. They are not a source of training information. It's all private. I'm one of those contributors, and I will tell you that I'm willing to donate. I have a 2.5 million token data set of everything I've ever said in any of my trainings about FileMaker, and I'm willing to donate that to this initiative free so that people don't need to pay me anymore to watch videos or come to my classes. They can just use this knowledge set instead. So that I feel like that is where this needs to go, and I'm curious what you guys think about this effort and where the holes are. I haven't completely thought it through entirely.
Yes, I really appreciate the efforts you already did with Ask Cris about FileMaker, the custom GPT you created already trained or based on your content. And that's key, sitting on quality content. Because yes, as you mentioned, there's a lot of noise. There are a lot of forums and hobbyists. Because FileMaker is so user-friendly, there are a lot of people just spending time on it and discussing and sometimes giving wrong advice to each other on those forums. So yes, sitting on quality information, disclosing that, it's key. So I already registered on the URL you mentioned. I'm in.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. Ernest, what are your thoughts on whether this could be the way that we and the new generation learns FileMaker?
I think it's super compelling. I mean, my favorite book on this planet that's again in the category of not science fiction that's AI adjacent is I'm looking at it. It's The Diamond Age by Stevenson, by Neil Stevenson, and in there is basically a primer that's an AI that coaches this the protagonist along her journey. And I think one of the most compelling things that LLMs and AIs can do for us today is to be a teacher and companion. Now, again, you've highlighted a lot of things that are problematic with it because, it's not often the most reliable tutor. So it works really great for experts right now. It doesn't work really great for junior people who are first starting, which is really the problem that we have, right? So I think we need a curated set that can make the pathway a little bit more compelling and easy. Now, I think the problem here is with the problem with training and fine tuning that we all have today. That cost has to be borne by someone. Now, you can bear it by outsourcing it to or pay someone pennies on a dollar to go through and do bullshit tasks, or you could do what Google did with CAPTCHA, right? Which is say every time you do something, you have to make a choice that automates trains the machine. So I'm wondering, hey, could we make every forum owner / host out there, whether it's FN forums, whether it's our community forum, give a little embed where you say, this is a great answer. And then it will feed a central Creative Commons repository that we can all share.
That's brilliant, Ernest. That's such a good idea. Yeah, I didn't even, that's such a great idea.
Let's get all those guys on the podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully this can start a little bit of a fire and people can start talking about this. I'm certainly sincere about it. When I was a for pay trainer, I guess I'm officially revealing now that I'm just trying to open source all of my training content to new learners. Linda Weinman, who's Linda, LYNDA.com, who now that she sold off, she's a billionaire now because she sold off to LinkedIn Learning. But I used to actually get to spend time with her back in the old days when she was, still walking planet Earth with the rest of us mere mortals. And she had this philosophy that she would teach all the authors. It was called the guide on the side. I don't think this was an original thought of hers. I've looked at this since. But it literally meant her thought of video. She was a classroom trainer. I actually took Flash classes with her, that whatever people in their 20s that are listening can laugh and would say, what the hell's Flash? But she said that she thought same era. She thought that video was going to be the guide on the side. Like literally you could have this sitting there and it was available to you 24 hours a day and personalized. I believe if we talk to her today, her new definition of guide on the side would be AI learning. So I think there's something compelling there. Matt, you and I share in common FileMaker training and a love for AI. So this will be something that we bring up in the future. Ernest, you're right. You nailed it. This is there's definitely cost involved, but I think it might be interesting to create a forum to discuss this and who might be interested in being part of it in some way, shape, or form, whether it's your time, your intelligence, a penny or here or there. And it might really be interesting to then show the output of this at a future like DevCon or Engage, one of the other engages in the world, any forum where we could actually share with the community what the result of the community would be. And this could be a worldwide collective effort within our FileMaker community that could really help the new era of learners and evaluators on the platform, and maybe even help the platform grow. So anyways, that's my diatribe. I appreciate
totally.
everyone's support.
A
and kind words.
living retraining body, basically,
Yep,
right?
that never stops learning.
Yeah, because that's what AI doesn't do right now. Like it has this knowledge and it is what it is.
Thanks for
Cool.
letting me diatribe there, guys, and your kind words and support mean a lot. And of course, it's really appreciate you guys taking time out. It's been fun for me. I'm getting used to talking with these guys, Matt. I feel like the last couple of times I've been in this booth, it's been to chat with these folks, and so look forward to future conversations. Really appreciate you guys taking out valuable time to be on the pod here. And
Yeah.
Matt, we'll pass back to you to wrap up.
I have 7 more questions.
Part
We'll
two.
save them for another time.
Exactly. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks very
Thanks
much.
all for me.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.